You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Canada sitting volleyball player Allison Lang. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in playing in professional sitting volleyball?
Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't know that I wanted to play sitting volleyball at like the Paralympic national level. I was born missing the lower half of my left leg at birth, and I actually was severely bullied when I was younger and very insecure about my disability. So I actually hid it for a majority of my life and never wanted to be associated with, para sport or adaptive sport because I felt so much shame around my body. So that was a huge transition for me. It like at the peak of like my body dysmorphia and insecurities when I was a teenager, I was actually asked and invited to come try out for Team Canada's sitting volleyball team. It was in its grassroots era, and I grew up playing soccer, swimming, skiing, and snowboarding. So I had no volleyball background actually, but because I was an athletic disabled female, they had asked me if I'd be interested to come try the sport. And I have to tell you, the first time I went to the training camp, I was awful. I was completely awful. I didn't know if I loved it at first. It was really demanding on your arms. You're on the floor, like trying to push yourself. But I think for me, it was like a blessing in disguise because I had met other women like me with disabilities. And I was like, it opened my eyes in that moment, being like, wow, I'm not alone in this world of disability. I don't have to suffer in silence. And honestly, meeting that many women that have like overcome adversity just made me more confident in my body and in sport. So I didn't know I wanted to play it until that moment when I connected with so many other people. And I said, you know what, if they can train me to be the player that I could potentially become, I might as well stick with it. And I think it was the community of people that kept me with it for as long as I have been there.
How was that feeling like when you got to become a sitting volleyball player and represent Team Canada?
Yeah, I was young when I made the roster to go compete at like the World Championship in Oklahoma. And I think I was so young and naive at that point because it was in 2011. I was still in high school. I didn't fully understand the concept of representing your country. I mean, in the back of my head, I was still kind of insecure. I wasn't like telling everyone in high school like I'm going to go play sitting volleyball because I didn't want to be looked at as less than. But now that I'm 30 years old and I've been in and out of the program for like over a decade, I took some time off for university. I am so proud. It's crazy for me to think that I get to wear the maple leaf on clothing and show up at events and not only represent my country, but represent female in sport and more importantly, disabled females in sport.
What was that like first getting introduced to the sport of sitting volleyball and who introduced you to the sport?
Yeah, my friend Amber Skypran actually introduced me to the sport. I had met her through the War Amps Champ program, and that is for child amputees. And it's an organization in Canada which helps fund prosthetic limbs, and they have seminars every year. And her and I would see each other every year consistently, and we became friends. And she was the one that said, "Hey, I am playing volleyball, like sitting volleyball, if you want to come try it." And at first I was like, I don't know, I'm more of a soccer player, but I'm so happy that I went. I'm so happy that she had invited me. And then honestly, my parents were the ones that were like, you should stick with this. This is a great opportunity. And they saw so much potential in the program.
What was it like preparing to make your first national team for sitting volleyball?
Um, it was a little bit surreal, if I'm being honest. Growing up, I never had role models. I never saw anybody that looked like me on TV or in magazines, especially around parasport. For a majority of my life, I didn't even know the Paralympics existed because they're not broadcasted the same way that the Olympics are on television. So preparing for it felt surreal because obviously at the back of my head, I was like thinking about how the younger version of me would be so proud. And now I can move into that role model position for younger amputees. And obviously, going and representing your country on a national stage is super exciting, but I was hella nervous. I was so nervous.
As a player, what was that feeling like when you got announced to make that sitting volleyball team for the first time?
um, I felt proud, but at the same time, I'm like, how have I worked my way up to this level where I'm making the roster now? It was super exciting. I mean, when I played on the team, it's insane to see how far we've come. We used to come in last place or almost last place when we started our program to now getting silver medals at world championships, the zonal and World Cup, which is actually such a dream come true. It's like indescribable almost.
Of course, what is that like getting to represent the national team and traveling around the world representing sitting volleyball?
Well, I love to travel. I absolutely love to travel. So when I get to do it with my team, it's even more special because we have become so close and we've competed together forever. I rejoined the program in 2021, right after they went to Tokyo. And I think it's such a special bond to be able to travel with your teammates and compete. Like you're all going to these areas of the world, not for leisure, but with the same goal in mind, and that is to compete, put our sport on the map, to qualify or to medal. So
How was that like for you after 2021 when they came back from the Paralympics and rejoining and preparing to make the Paralympics the next go around?
yeah, it was, if I'm being completely honest, like from my perspective, it was intimidating. I knew a lot of the girls, like I had played with Danny, our captain, and Joanne and Heidi briefly before I took a little hiatus to work on my education degree. And when I returned, they were already two-time Paralympians. I mean, it was intimidating, not intimidated by them. I should reword that. I was intimidated thinking that my skill set wouldn't be like up to par. And I, but I reframed my mind. It's all about mindset. And I was like, this is a great potential for me to learn from my friends, from my teammates. And I think I was more excited because, they had acquired all of this knowledge going to Rio and then Tokyo. And then, we were only hungry for more and being surrounded by people that have done it. I'm just like, it's possible to do it again. And we did. We showed up at World Cup in Egypt in November of 2023, and we qualified for Paris, which is insane.
While you took that little hiatus from sitting volleyball from the national team, were you still practicing and preparing to make it to qualify in 2023 to go to the Paralympics?
Um, Not entirely. I was still playing recreational volleyball with friends, colleagues from work, and I had formed teams that way. So it wasn't at a high level of competition, but I was still getting ball touches, which is nice. And during my little hiatus of focusing on my education at university, I didn't really have the intention of returning, if I'm being honest. I had bigger plans. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be a teacher. And I mean, I'm in half that position now. I have my own business. I'm not teaching, I am doing public speaking, but it was actually our head coach that had asked me to come back. And it's kind of funny because during COVID, there was obviously all these challenges circulating to keep people connected online. And Joanne, like my current teammate, but I had played with her before that. She was doing volleyball touches, and it was like do 10, tag 10, and she tagged me in it. But I didn't have a volleyball at my apartment during isolation. So I was just joking around and I was setting toilet paper as a joke and then spiked it. And it was Nicole Ban, the head coach of our program, that messaged me and she was like, "Are you coming out of retirement yet or what's up?" And it opened up that discussion for me to come back to sport. And I am so grateful that I did because it is such an important part of my life now.
What was that like for you, as you said, retiring and focusing on education and then coming back into the sport?
Um, I think it was like a good buffer for me, if I'm being honest, because I had started with little knowledge in the sport of sitting volleyball specifically. And I took some time away to not only like work on my education, but my self-confidence. My priorities changed immensely. I became like really career focused. And I think that transitioned quite well into my return because now volleyball is my top priority and being in the best possible shape for my sport is so important for me. I've hired a regional coach in Montreal to work with. Quite regularly. His name is Francois Labrèche, and he is like working on the like technique with me one on one, like continuously in Montreal. So I think the little break that I had just maybe made me reset my priorities in a different way. And I returned as a better athlete, not only for myself, but for my teammates, someone that they could rely on. And I want to reiterate that now that I'm back, I'm not going anywhere because my goal is to be a Paralympian.
What was that feeling like for you getting to put on that Team USA gear, eh, Team
Canada.
Canada gear, and have the maple leaf flag on you?
It was a proud moment. I thought of my parents, if I'm being honest, because they had sacrificed so much for me growing up when it came to my amputation and my surgeries and my body insecurities and the immense bullying that I went through. And they always stuck by my side and always told me that I could do great things. And I didn't believe it when I was younger, but as soon as I put on the maple leaf, um, it just it made me feel valued and as if I could provide value for other people, including our country. So that was really special.
What was that feeling like for you getting to sit onto that volleyball court for the first time representing Canada?
I was really young the first time. Like I said, I was in high school, so I was so nervous. I definitely had the jitters. I probably didn't have the confidence that I do now sitting on the court. And I I honestly took it as just a moment to play for fun, to learn because I didn't grow up playing volleyball. So the first time that I ever competed in the volleyball atmosphere was on a sitting volleyball court. So that to me is special, but also very scary because we were up against players that had much experience, many years of experience in sitting volleyball. So it was an opportunity for me to learn, even though I was scared.
Uh, How is it like getting to face teams and countries like the US?
We're so grateful that we are so close with the US. We're rivals, but not rivals. Like we're friends off the court, rivals on the court, if I should explain it that way. But the US is a two-time gold medalist at the Paralympics. So for us to get to compete against them and with them and practice with them as much as we do, we get to compete against the best, which is only going to make our program better in the end. So it's it's great. You have to compete against the best to be the best, and that's our goal is to put Canada on the map of volleyball and sitting volleyball specifically. So it's amazing to learn and battle on the court, and then we enjoy each other's company off the court.
For my listeners that don't know, how do you play the sport as sitting volleyball?
Yeah, it's set up the same way as standing volleyball in the sense that you have 6 players on either side of the court. The court is smaller. It's 10 meters by 6 meters. And for the women's net height, it's lowered to the floor and it sits at 1.05 meters high. So if I'm sitting and put my hands up to block, it comes up to about my wrist. And then you can block a serve and you scoot around on your butt, which not many people know. They always think that we're either in wheelchairs or on rolly devices, but it's all on our butt on the court. So it's a fast-paced sport and it's quite incredible. If people haven't seen it, I highly encourage them to YouTube and watch some games.
What does a typical game day look like for you?
Yeah, game days are super exciting. Our captain Danielle actually gets us in the mood by being like, "It's game day. It's game day." And she'll just like basically get us super excited. We have a lot of rituals as a team that have come into play over the amount of years that, set us up for success on game day. We will all meet in a hotel room or in the locker room, depending where we're playing our matches. And one of our assistant coaches, Chelsea Hobbs, will read through and help us with visualization. She has the most soothing voice, so it's perfect to get us in like that comforting space and visualizing our place on the court. And then, of course, we jam out to our favorite tunes. We make playlists constantly, and each of us can add our favorite songs and we'll belt it out. We'll have like basically carpool karaoke, but in the locker room. We'll all come out of, the locker room or the hotel room dancing. And we have even been trying to cram the whole team into elevators before, dancing, getting pumped for matches and jumping. And then we're like, wait, we can't because the elevator is going to get stuck and we're going to be late for the game. So like, it's nice to get amped up together. I think it honestly gets us like super close and comfortable with each other and just excited to be next to each other on court. So it's nice to go through and do the same ritual every time.
What are some of your favorite memories or moments being a sitting volleyball player for Canada?
Honestly, our our pre-game dances are some of my favorite. It's really funny when we can get our team manager Ian involved. And there's so many memories. Honestly, they can be little memories from like the intimate moments that I have with my teammates, debriefing after a game, to game planning as a team where, we're just laughing so much. And it's nice to have like that balance of being like, this is our job, this is what we are here to do, and we're gonna succeed. So also having those little moments of sharing, of laughter, because we just are so passionate about what we do that we're enjoying every moment, even though it's all seriousness. So there's too many moments to even count.
What was it like getting to compete for the World Championship and qualify to make the Paris?
Yeah, so World Cup was in Egypt just in November 2023. And we, prior to that, went to World Champs in Bosnia in November of 2022. And we got silver. We unfortunately lost to our rivals of Brazil in the gold medal match and just missed getting the first berth to Paris. But that made us only hungry to continue training. We were working on our speed. We then competed in the zonal against Team USA, got silver again. And then leading up to World Cup, we just knew that we had the goal to we wanted the goal to qualify. That was our only goal, was to get our foot in the door for Paris. And it's just so astonishing that we did it. Like, I'm so proud. I knew that we would, though, and it sounds cocky, but I mean, we had been working so hard, and like through like the sweat, the tears, like it kept our hunger for more. And we went undefeated at World Cup in Egypt. In our pool, we were undefeated in the quarterfinal, undefeated semifinal. And it was such a challenge because we played Germany in the semifinal in Egypt and we beat them and we qualified. And I mean, we all jumped up. I started crying. I have never been a Paralympian before. This just put me one step closer to, adding that to my world of accomplishments. And I'm getting choked up talking about it, clearly. But there was like this weird shift because obviously we were undefeated. We just qualified, but we still had a game against China the next day. And China had already qualified in their zonal. So that's how we knew we had qualified ourselves, because we had beat everyone else out. So it was like that weird moment of being like, oh my God, I want to celebrate. We're so excited. Like, this is huge. But back to business. We have a game tomorrow, So it's learning how to regulate our emotions. And then obviously after our game against China, which, like, we haven't played China in so long because of the pandemic. And I honestly have never played China, like returning as an athlete, just the way things had worked out. My teammates had. And it was a great game. We got to practice the speed that we've been running, and we took them to 4 sets, which is huge because China is such a strong team and their gameplay is incredible to watch. And even though we lost, like, yes, not getting gold stings, but coming home with a silver medal and a place in the Paralympics for Paris was everything that we had wanted and could ask for. And now we get to say that we did it, and we're going to work hard for the next 8 months leading up to Paris.
What is that like, getting to play with some of your teammates like Peyton Vare, Julie, and Danielle?
Yeah, I would say I learned something different from all of my teammates, and it's really nice to be able to build those relationships on and off the court. Some of my strongest relationships come from this team now, and it's because we connect like on a personal level. We connect because we're all high performance athletes. We represent our country. We wear like the badge of honor, and we hold each other accountable. There's not many people in the world that I can be like, hey, get your shit together. We have business to do, and not have them take offense to it. So it's really nice to have those kinds of relationships with my teammates. And I just have to say, I'm always learning from Danielle, our captain. I started in the grassroots era with her, but it's been insane to see her personal growth over the years. She's a great leader on the court, and even her knowledge off the court, when I even get like the little, jokester out of her, it's just amazing. And I'm so grateful for the women that I'm surrounded with on the bench and on the court and in the game room and everything.
Who are some of the most influential people in your career that have shaped you into the sitting volleyball player you are today?
Yeah, when I first started, I would say Larry Matthews. He was our first coach when I was just a wee baby on the team, and he was the one that always encouraged me to get back into the sitting sport. And I would always be like, oh yeah, Larry, like maybe we'll see, but he pushed me, and that's honestly one of the people that impacted my return, aside from Nicole Ban. But I owe so much gratitude towards our head coach, Nicole Ban. Obviously, she stands for and advocates for us so much, and people don't see like all of the hard work she does behind the scenes. We were actually talking about it, Brandon. Coaches, we don't know what they're up to, but she is such a strong advocate for para sport, for women's sports, and I'm so proud to know her. She pushes me so hard, as well as everyone else on the team, because she knows we have potential. And I mean, just to have the relationship that we do with her, and for her to grow our program, like when she first started, I think she's been with the program for 7 years, 8 years now. From like joining the team, when we used to have so much turnover with coaches, people would be like, yeah, I want to coach Team Canada. They'd stay with us for a year and disappear. She has stuck it through, and she has built the program from getting in last place to getting in second place. And now we're actually ranked #1 in the world, our sitting team, for the women's sitting teams, which is just amazing. And obviously I'm smiling so big because I could not be more proud. And it's nice because Nicole also, with our assistant coaches, our physio, our mental performance coaches, we have an entire women's coaching staff, which is almost unheard of. And it just makes me so much more proud to represent Canada in a women's sport run by women. And we understand each other, but we don't give each other in it too much slack, you know? So I definitely owe those two. But more recently, I've been working with a coach for almost a year in Montreal. I work with him one on one. His name is Francois Lebrèche. His knowledge that he brings to me is something that I have been missing. It's like the puzzle piece that makes sense to it all because Nicole obviously juggles so many girls when we're all together training in Edmonton. But then when I come home with Francois, I get to work on, you know, my serving, continuous repetition. He's hard on me too, and in the best way because I have seen immense growth within myself for the last year. And him and Nicole work together on, you know, making me a better athlete. So I have a long list of people I want to thank, but those are definitely my top three.
What is it like getting to meet your fans and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
I'm laughing only because it still doesn't feel real. I never thought that I would ever have fans or people that would think that I was worthy. And I think that stems from me being bullied when I was younger and, you know, the imposter syndrome that comes with now being a national athlete, performing on international stages, and having people not only recognize you, but know your name. And I just have to remind myself that, you know, this goes with me wanting to be the role model that I never had. So it is such a special moment to meet people whose life I have impacted, even in like the most minuscule way. And it makes me so happy to do so.
What is that feeling like getting to live out your dream of being a sitting volleyball player?
I'm lucky. I count my blessings every day because it has given me the freedom to meet other women, represent obviously para sport, which is like a huge goal of mine is to put para sport more on the map, have it be of equality, especially since para means parallel, so it should be of equality to non-disabled sport. And I think it's just given me the freedom to finally accept and be who I am, which is a competitive person and embracing my disability while competing in what I love, which is sitting volleyball.
What for you, what is that training like preparing to make that Paralympic team to go to Paris?
Oh, I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm so excited because e- easy isn't what I want to make the roster to go to Paris. Our team has qualified, and the roster for who's going to be going to Paris comes out, I think, in April. So that still gives me a few months. So it just makes me more dedicated and motivated to do my very best, you know, to show up at the gym, to show up on court, to show up for my teammates and put in the effort where it's due. And I think so many people undermine actually what goes in for preparations like this, but it is excruciating. Like it's a time commitment, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I can't wait because next week I'm flying to Edmonton to train with my team for the first time since we qualified. So it'll be nice to be back together, have that homey feel, and just like goal set for the next 8 months leading to Paris. And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm ready.
Besides obviously the Paralympics, what are some of your other future plans in sitting volleyball?
Yeah, I have a lot of plans. Like I said, I want to put sitting volleyball on the map. So I did start my own business earlier last year, so January 2023, where I do motivational speaking. I sometimes model, I do content creation, and I'm just trying to spread awareness on sitting volleyball. Hopefully, that will lead to more sponsorships or more money in like para sport, proper representation of our sport, hopefully get, you know, more like advocacy done for our athletes. And with that, I would love to, you know, within sitting volleyball, transition more into like a leadership role. That's my hope for the future. Obviously, I'd love to run programs in Quebec with, you know, able bodied or disabled athletes to just educate them on the sport, to bring more awareness around the sport, have people try the sport to even know what it is. Maybe one day move into some kind of director role. I would love to get more involved with Team Canada. So there's a lot of goals that I have in place, but it's obviously dependent on the time. My first focus right now is just being an athlete.
What advice would you give those people looking to get started in adaptive sports?
I would say don't let your disability hold you back like it held me back. It took me far too long to follow my passion and follow my heart. And, there's athletes out there that have overcome so much and that you can learn from. And just me joining adaptive sport gave me a place that felt like home. So I would just want to encourage anybody that's interested in trying adaptive sport, go out and try as much different adaptive sports. I tried the one ski with the outriggers, I tried sledge hockey, I tried sitting volleyball, and you just have to try all these different sports to find the one that you are passionate about and that you want to carry forward doing.
What advice would you give those people looking to represent a national team and one day make it to the Paralympics?
I'd say don't give up on your dreams. Obviously, if you find the sport that you love, just keep working hard and hopefully one day you can represent Canada as well. I never thought it was possible, and it can be possible for them too.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, they can find me on all platforms of social media at Allison E. Lang. So that's ALLISONELANG.
Thank you again, Allison Lang, for your interview, and best luck in your future with Canada in the sitting volleyball.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Allison Lang, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.